What happens when you get a married couple that quit their jobs to pursue their dreams?
You get us, the Hassle of Hair.
I'm Jesse the Hassle Diaz, a fighter out of Strike Fitness in Los Banos, California. My dream is to one day have at least one pro MMA fight and pro Muay Thai fight.
Hi, I'm Cal, a licensed cosmetologist pursuing my dreams into finishing and opening up my mobile salon.
Follow us on our journey as we search for people that went after their dreams
And became the character in their own movie.
It's Autism Awareness Month, guys. All April long, we will be highlighting autism. My mother was a autism teacher's aide and was always telling us and bringing light to us what autism was. I want to thank Patrick for the sponsorship and bringing the idea of highlighting autism all month. Thank you guys and enjoy the episode.
Jaden Kinney is I'm going to mess this up as usual. He is a physical therapist assistant.
Yep.
I got it right. And he's based out of Los Banos right now, living in Los Banos. He moved all the way from the Ozarks of Arkansas.
Yep.
And Jaden just had his first PKB event, point kickboxing match for Strike. So he is a Strike fighter. And I wanted to bring him on to talk to him for a while now because of his growing up in the Ozarks, and we talked about it a little bit, and then becoming a physical therapist assistant, and your journey of wanting to be a sports physical therapist.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you fall in love with wanting to be a physical therapist with recovery and everything?
So when I was in high school, as we talked about, I played a lot of sports, and I got a pretty serious hamstring injury going into my junior year, and we didn't have like an athletic trainer or anything like that, and my football coach, he was very good, but he was very old time too, and so his solution was just sit in the ice bath for 10 minutes, get out for 10 minutes, do that 3 times a day, and it'll heal itself. Yeah. And so that summer, I did that 10 minutes in, 10 minutes out, 3 times, twice a day, so 6 ice baths a day for months, and it did not improve any at all. And then we got an athletic trainer one day. My coach comes in, says, you're going to be the first person working with her. And so she told me that I had strained my hamstring pretty bad, and that anytime I tried to put any work on it, it was going to strain again unless I strengthened it progressively. Yeah. And so she did a couple things that helped me out pretty quickly, like just wrapping it up, supporting it. But it wasn't a full month before she was able to get me back on the field, where it was months that I was just sitting there trying to recover it myself and not having any idea what to do. Yeah. So while I was with her, I also saw her working with other athletes like ACL tears and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed seeing how the exercises were what actually, 1, gave them the confidence, and 2, gave them the strength and allowed those muscles to recover in their rehab process.
Wait, when you had the hamstring injury, was it bruised?
Yeah, it bruised up for a little bit in the very beginning, but then it was just super sore after that.
But did they think you just had like a Charlie horse, or?
My coach, he didn't really know what to think. He kicked a trash can and told me to get in the ice bath. I didn't know what to think. And so, but she told me it was a strain in it, and she said it was at least grade 2. So that means that there was some muscle tearing, no complete tearing, but some of the fibers were torn. And so I had to, 1, lay off of it long enough for those to heal up, and then 2, once they did heal up, progressively start to strengthen them to keep them from tearing again.
So what made you want to? So you got into before I asked you that question, you were talking about how you saw her deal with other people.
Yeah, so I saw that, and I was like, this is super interesting. I want to be an athletic trainer. Yeah. And so then I started shadowing her for the JV games, and one time this kid broke his leg, and a tibia was sticking out of the skin. And she ran out there like it was Christmas morning, man. She was so excited, and that's right then and there when I knew I did not want to be an athletic trainer, because they got to deal firsthand with that stuff. But I enjoyed the rehab, the recovery part of it. And so I started looking at other things that I could do that with, and I saw a physical therapist and assistant. And at the time, I kind of gave it a little bit of thought, but I'm like, they're probably going to have to deal with the same stuff. And so I actually changed routes completely and wanted to be a math teacher. And so I spent a semester at college as a math teacher, 2 semesters as an elementary teacher major, and then finally I'm like, I don't want to do either of these things really. I enjoy working with people, I enjoy teaching people, but I don't want to be in a classroom. And that's when I remembered how much I enjoyed watching the physical therapy or the rehab part when I was with our athletic trainer. And my academic advisor mentioned, well, you could go do the physical therapist assistant program.
Yeah.
And so then again, I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of looked at that a while back. And so then I started doing that, and I realized very quickly that that's what my passion was.
And are you mentioned that she saw the broken tibia.
Oh, yeah.
And did it come out of skin?
Oh, yeah. It was, I could see from the sideline it was sticking out.
And to me, because I watched like First 48 and she'll watch all the murder or the hospital shows.
Yeah.
I get squeamish with like blood and bone.
Oh, yeah, same. That's why I stayed on the sideline and changed career options real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it makes me sick. And she went out there. I'm not even kidding. She had a smile on her face, I think. Like, it was wild.
Yeah. And so people I don't know, people at the gym at Strike, few of them know that you were a state champion. All-state soccer player, right?
Yes.
All-state soccer player.
All-state soccer
which is
player.
still crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you never mentioned it once. You never mentioned it once when you first came to Strike. I'm not saying that you're supposed to mention it, but
Sure.
You never said you were an athlete, and it makes sense because when you're on the mat, like right away, it's like quick reflexes, muscle. What is it called? Fast twitch muscle.
Yeah.
Very different from anybody that's walked into the gym. I'm not saying you're God's gift.
Sure, no, yeah, I understand.
But it's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
I think being a multi-sport athlete helped me in that I wasn't just bulking up for football, but I was also staying lean and fast twitch fibers for soccer.
Yeah.
But it was a cool accomplishment, definitely. It's something that I'm proud of, but I don't want to be that guy that introduces myself as, yeah, I'm Jaden. I was an all-state soccer player in high school. So if you ask, like when you asked that day, I told you.
Yeah.
But that's not something I'll lead a conversation with or anything like that.
But it's usually when somebody has a career-ending injury that they really want to dive into physical therapy, right? Mm-hmm. You still haven't had a very bad injury.
No, but
what stopped you from going to college and playing soccer and all the other sports?
As you know, I am injury prone.
Yeah.
And so I did receive some offers to smaller schools to go play soccer, and I received some to go play football too.
Yeah.
But at that time, I had pretty much made my mind up that I was going to go to Arkansas Tech. And so I figured, if I can get offers at these other schools, I can walk on at this school. And I just wanted to punt. That's what I was best at. Out of all, they didn't have a soccer program, so it was football only.
Yeah.
And out of all the positions I played in football, I could punt better than anything else. And so I had gotten a high ankle sprain in soccer the week before the tryouts and just bombed the tryout. And at that point, rather than try and change colleges and accept one of those scholarships, I just decided, I know I'm not good enough to go pro in any of those things, and I had accepted that. And so rather than devote all my time to that, I decided to go to college to have a little more fun.
Yeah. When punting, like you don't think that you could practice your way to being pro? Like, have you seen a pro punter?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but there's only 32 of them.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, what's the difference between a college punter and a NFL punter?
At the elite level, college punters, NFL punters, there's not a lot of difference. So it comes down to small things. Like the Patriots, they only take left-footed punters.
Yeah.
So, because they like the way the ball spins. But I don't know. I took that high ankle sprain as kind of like a
sign.
A sign,
Yeah.
that it just wasn't in the cards for me.
Can you imagine getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to kick a ball?
Just to kick it. That's it.
Like,
You know?
It's so crazy.
Now, they do got to put like backspin on it, or they want it to go out of bounds at the 1 yard line. But at the end of the day, they're just kicking it, you know?
Are you currently interested in buying a house in Los Baños? Either you live here or you're thinking about moving to this wonderful city? Well, our sponsor, Diego Velasquez, is one of the best realtors in town and one of the best realtors I know. Go ahead and give him a call at 209-704-2570. That's 209-704-2570. And if you do call him, make sure to mention the hassle of hair. Thank you guys. Thank you for supporting. Remember, support those that support us. Now back to the episode. Yeah, because see, I was a Raider fan growing up, and Shane Leckler was their punter.
Yeah.
And the dude would just boot it.
Yeah.
He'd be on the 20-yard line. And so if you don't watch football, a punter basically is the person that kicks it. So there's 4 downs in a football. There's 4 downs. You get 4 downs in a series when you're playing football. And if you don't make it on the 3rd down, then you're going to turn the ball over. You're going to punt it to the other team. Basically, the punter just, what Jaden was doing and Shane Leckler on the Raiders would just kick the ball to the other opponent, to the opponent. And man, I am horribly doing this wrong, saying this wrong. But they would kick it to the other side, and they try to get it closest to the end zone, because if it goes in the end zone, then it's a 20-yard touchback. Dude, football is complicated.
It is.
I'm barely
Once you really dive into it, there's
like
a lot
I
of
just
rules.
know that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And it's hard to explain to people that don't know football, right? But all you're doing is just kicking the ball.
Yeah.
But you have to kick it with accuracy, try to get it right on the 1 yard line to drop and not bounce.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah. And so I could do that occasionally, but I could not do it consistently enough to imagine myself doing it professionally, if that makes sense. And maybe that is something I could have worked on, but the punter that they wound up going with anyways at Tech, he kicked like 5 yards further than I did. He was really good. Yeah. Yes, so they were good with what they got, and I was happy with my college experience that I had otherwise.
So you grew up in the Ozarks of Arkansas, right?
Yeah, so the Ozark Mountains are a range of mountains. They're not anything like the mountains you guys have here. They're just glorified hills. But they range from southwest Missouri down into northwest Arkansas. And I grew up in Huntsville, Arkansas, which is pretty much right in the center of those. And then we're not too far from the town, Ozark, which a lot of people, when I say that, their ears kind of perk up because they've seen the show. But yeah, all that's in the Ozark National Forest there.
But is it like the show? Like a lot of drugs?
I mean, yeah, there's there's a lot of crime that goes on in that area because it's a lot of it's secluded, like they show in the show. It's mountains, it's forests, it's very thick woods. It's easy to hide stuff. It's easy to hide if you want to. But at the same time, it is also dramatized. You don't see that just every day driving down the street, see some dude laundering money or nothing, but. It's actually a very beautiful forest too. If you guys ever get the chance to go, that's where I would send you in Arkansas.
Yeah. And when was the first time you seen a beach? Because we're in Los Baños right now, and we're about an hour and a half away from a beach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is the closest I've ever been. When I was a kid, I'd probably say 6 or 7, we went down to Texas for a funeral of a family member. I can't even remember who it was at this point. But we went to Galveston.
So you were pretty young then.
Yeah. Okay. We went to Galveston, went to the beach there. It was just a cloudy day. The sand was kind of dirty, and the water was dirty as well. And so it was years. I was probably 16 before I went back to the beach again. Yeah. And then after that, it was when I moved here. So before I came here, I had been to the beach twice in my life.
It's so crazy because me and my wife talk about it all the time, how we we don't like realize how lucky we are that we're in the middle of San Francisco, LA, San Jose, Silicon Valley.
Yep.
Like these are places that people talk about around the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People that like places that people back home where we can't wait to go. It's just when you think of California, you think of San Francisco, Los Angeles, but you don't really think about small places like this that are great places to live because the exact reason you said, it's so close to everything.
Yeah, and we're not in the crazy city.
Yes, exactly.
And you said Los Baños is kind of almost. I mean, it's almost the same as Huntsville, right?
I've said literally since the day that I drove into town that this reminds me of Huntsville with palm trees. It's a small. It feels smaller than it actually is. It doesn't feel like there's 40,000 plus people here, but it's farming. It's a bunch of people that are just hard workers, honest workers. They're not trying to swindle anybody out of their money. You know, they're not trying to sell anybody nothing. They're just doing their work, doing their farm work, and the farm workers too. You know, they're extremely hard workers, and they're just doing their best to provide for their families, which is what we do back home. We put our nose down, we go to work, we come home, and we enjoy time with our families.
I remember talking to you one time, and you said that a lot of people end up staying though, like in that city, like they don't really leave.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people that stay in my hometown. It's small too. It's smaller than Dos Palos. We have less than 2,000 people there. Yeah. And but they're content with it. And I can't say anything against that, you know, because I think that's something that's important to strive for in life is contentment. And so if you are content in Huntsville or in Fayetteville, wherever that's at, absolutely chase whatever your contentment is.
I want a big city.
Yeah, and so I don't know. Honestly, like this right here is perfect for me because it's small, but at the same time
we're growing,
and we're so close to all the big cities.
Yeah.
If I want to go to San Jose, it's a day trip. If I want to go to San Francisco, it's a day trip. If I want to go to the mountains over there and go snowboarding, it's a day trip.
Why wouldn't you want to live here?
I don't know.
Like it's crazy that like you know what I mean? It's crazy. Like if you think about how Los Baños is, it's so cool because we got 4 Starbucks. We got four.
I don't even know big cities that have 4 Starbucks.
But 5 minutes away from everybody says when you live here, it's like you're 5 minutes away from everything.
Yeah.
Like you need to go to Walmart, 5 minutes away. You need to go get something to eat, 5 minutes away. You need to go to your friend's house, it's 5 minutes away.
Yep.
It's such a cool city, and we're just growing.
We were talking about that in the gym this morning, how it's so close, but still, when something's on the other side of town, I'm like, I don't really want to go all the way to the other side of town here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not 2 miles away.
Like, one time, I ran all of Los Baños.
Yeah?
Like, it's probably about 6 miles. Well, I mean, I ran the whole city.
Sure, yeah.
The whole city. I mean, there's more country around it.
Yeah.
And, which is crazy because I actually drove out of town, but like in the country roads. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole duck hunter.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that have you seen that duck hunter community?
There's 3 or 4 of them around here.
I didn't even know what those I didn't even know what those were. So these people, I don't even know if my wife knows. So for the season of duck hunting, they stay in these trailer homes.
Yeah, they have like a whole little community of places. And so it may either be theirs or they're going to bring them when duck season begins, but it's usually on like a spot where there's going to be some good duck hunting. And so it's a club. You got to pay to get your membership in it. But yeah, they've got one out headed towards Turlock. They've got one out off of 152 like you're going to Fresno. And then they've got one out towards Gustine.
And from what I know is that it's some of them are like just a bunch of rich guys that come down to the country and go hunt.
Yeah, a lot of times.
It's crazy.
I
don't know. I thought that was. I never even knew that was a thing.
That's another thing is duck hunting is really big in Arkansas, and so I moved here and there's still duck fever here. So I was like, I really don't even feel like I left.
I'm such a city boy that I don't know all of that stuff. Like when you first got here, you said you didn't know anybody. All you did was fish.
Yeah, and really, that's still all I do. To be honest with you, between the meeting that we had today and just now, I went and fished for about 45 minutes.
So today we sparred and we had like a fighters meeting, and it was only like 30, 40 minutes that I last seen you.
Yeah.
So you went to go fish real quick.
Yeah, I had a rod in my car, so I went and stopped by the little canal. I didn't catch anything, but
That's so
I tossed a line in. Sometimes you just gotta scratch the itch, man.
That's so crazy. And you did post a picture of that huge fish that you caught. It was a big mouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a largemouth bass. It was about 9.5 pounds. I had caught the same one last year, and the only reason I know is because it has a milky eye. And so it was about 8.5 pounds last year.
It wasn't the same fish.
Man, I swear it had this. It's blind in one eye.
It can't be the same fish.
How many big fish are out there blind in the same left eye?
That's like a folk tale.
I'll tell you the truth now. I foul hooked it in the eye. That's how I know it had the milky eye last year. I did, and like I didn't like saying that I caught it because I foul hooked it, and so I caught it, but unfairly, I hooked it in the eye, and so it didn't put up too big of a fight, and I reeled it in last year. This year, I was just tossing out a big swim bait, and honestly, it hit it so hard that I thought my line was stuck, and so I jerked it, and it didn't move, and then it started swimming the other way, and I was like, oh, that's a big fish, and so I reeled it in, and I could tell that it was the biggest fish I'd ever caught when it was still in the water, and I picked it up, and I turned it over, and its eye was just milky. It was just like kind of gray. And I'm like, there's no way. It's got to be the same fish.
You know what's crazy? Without Instagram, without there being social media, that story you just told right now would sound like total bullshit.
Oh, I got the pictures to prove it, too.
Yeah,
so
that's so crazy.
Yep, I uploaded a picture of it last year, and then I re-uploaded one of it this year.
Have you ever seen Big Fish? The movie Big Fish?
No.
So it's about this, I think he's a writer, and he grows up with a dad that is always telling him stories about his youth, and they're crazy stories about riding around with a freak show and catching this huge fish, and they're over dramatic stories, and he doesn't believe his dad the whole entire time, and his dad ends up dying, and he goes on a journey meeting all these people that his dad talked about.
Yeah.
And it's insane. It's like, because my wife says all the time, because I have all these crazy stories that I tell people, and she's like, I don't believe that. It's like, I just need, I wish back then I was more on Instagram, so I would just took a bunch of pictures so people believe me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's that's why I love social media, is because there's no lying, right?
No.
If you have a picture, it's, dude, happened.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes with the wave of smartphones, and we weren't carrying cameras around back in, 2000s, 2010, and then smartphones really got great cameras now, so everything's captured in 4K, as they're saying on Twitter.
And the other day at the gym, there's a guy named Diego, tall guy, which he's sponsoring this podcast, by the way. He's a realtor. I'll have his commercial in somewhere. But we were talking about how he's not comfortable with taking pictures, right? Like live action pictures, like people just taking pictures of him, right?
Yeah.
And I told him, I didn't realize a lot of people didn't grow up with their photo being taken. Dude, my mom used to walk around with the camera everywhere. Grocery market, sports games, amusement parks. Like, dude, it was with her all the time. My mom, dude, there's a reason why I'm crazy on Instagram, like constantly like making shit. Dude, I'm like, my mom was into scrapbooking. So if you don't know what scrapbooking is, you'd basically put together like all these pictures with collage and creative shit, and just have your family portraits or even just your family trips. Dude, when I tell you she had like thousands, it had to be like over 1,000 or near 1,000 books. Yeah. Like, it's insane.
That's
it's
a lot.
insane. Like, I barely talked about it. Like, I barely put two and two together of like how crazy that sounds. Like, did your parents walk around with the camera?
No, so I think it's super cool that yours did, and so now you also have like all those memories, all those little flashbacks every time you see one of those photos too.
Yeah.
No, my parents didn't take a whole lot of pictures. We found some, but Mostly from when I was much younger. There's not a lot of me from like 5 to 10.
Yeah. I wonder what that did to my psyche. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure, I don't know. That's an interesting thought.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's normal to me. Like, it's like the whole, like, the fighting thing. People are taking your picture when you're fighting in the ring, or eyes on you, or just in general. Like, my daughter will tell me, like, why'd you post that? It's just, I'm so used to the camera being in my face.
Yeah.
No, you love it.
I know. Hold on. I don't love it. I don't love it.
You love taking videos.
If you're gonna talk, my wife's talking right now. If Raquel's talking right now, if you're gonna talk, get on the mic. But yeah, I think it's so crazy because I thought everybody grew up like that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people do and a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about, like, what effect does that have on you growing up, too? You know, how does that change who you are today?
I'm crazy because of it. I think so. Not
You
like
think?
crazy, like creatively crazy because
Okay,
of it.
yeah,
Do
that
you know
makes
what I'm saying?
sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just so crazy. Like, do you have anything that you look back on your childhood and you're like, man, I can't believe that happened? Like growing up in the Ozarks?
Like, yeah, I mean, I can understand how, but at the same time, I'm like, how did that happen? We would go out in the woods and we lived on 360 acres. We rented it. We weren't owning it or nothing like that. We rented a house, but the owner said we can do whatever we want on the land. And so me and my cousins.
How big is that? I'm not familiar. Like, I know 5 acres
big.
is a lot.
It's we could be out all day and not even cover
How many
a
football
third
fields?
of the land. Shoot, I have no idea.
It's that big?
It is that. Oh, it's absolutely that big. I'll show you sometime on a map, so you can see how big it was. But my dad just let us have free reign. You know, we as long as we were back by dinner time, he wasn't really worried. But we would go out there, and as we got a little bit older and we were more responsible, he'd let us take like 22s out there and stuff like that, and we'd just go out and mess around in the woods, man. One time we tried to build a little deer stand out of like a radiator grill. It's some stuff you'd see on like the Beverly Hillbillies, I think. But go ahead.
No, that's so crazy because like you grew up like that with just roaming this land.
Yeah.
I did the same thing, but in San Jose.
It was a concrete jungle.
Yeah, concrete. Yeah,
absolutely.
Me and my buddies would just ride our bike all over San Jose, from east side to south side to west side, and taking bus 70 everywhere. But we were around craziness all the time. You guys were by yourself.
So you experienced that city life and both the good and bad that comes with it. There's so much to do, but you also see some pretty crazy stuff, I'm sure. Versus growing up on land, we had animals that I would have to help take care of, and so when we would go out exploring, it'd be out in the woods to a little part that we haven't been to in a while, or going out hunting. By me and my cousin, we spent a lot of time together. Me and my cousin did.
What did you kill? Or what did you hunt?
We would hunt mostly white-tailed deer. But we also did a lot of squirrel hunting. Me and my cousin did, because that's a 22. You take a 22 for that, and
that's like a BB gun, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a gun,
yeah.
But it's a very small caliber. Yeah, it's just mostly for rodents. And so we'd go out squirrel hunting, because that you just kind of walk through the woods. You don't have to be quiet or nothing. Actually, you want to kind of get them up moving so you can see where they're going.
Would you eat the squirrel?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. No, we weren't out just blasting stuff to waste it.
No, but like.
But you say you're eating squirrel out here, and somebody's gonna look at you. You know, like you stepped out of a time machine.
Is it good?
It's not bad. I mean, it's certainly not ideal. I'm not gonna just like, oh man, I could eat some squirrel dumplings today, but it's as cliche as it is. It's kind of like greasy chicken, but it's not at the same time. You know.
Yeah.
Have you ever had rabbit?
No.
Rabbit's actually very good. We would do a little bit of rabbit hunting. It's similar to rabbit, which are both similar to chicken, just a little bit slimier, greasier.
So this was the first time that a few months back I bought a quarter cow.
Yeah.
That's the first time I actually got meat from a farm.
Such a difference, huh?
It is a difference, but it's crazy to think that my whole entire life I've been buying from Save Mart.
Yeah.
I've been getting McDonald's. And I think the next step after that, once I have the time, I don't have time to hunt. You know,
yeah.
I think the next step after that is actually hunting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing, first of all, because the majority of the time you're just sitting there being as quiet as possible.
Yeah.
And it also depends on what kind of hunting you're doing, too. If you're going out there with a rifle, you can be in a little cozy box blind and not have to worry about nothing. But some people like to do like spot and stalk, where they'll track an animal, whether it's an elk or a deer, and they'll go about it that way. But I think you would like it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm not. So I used to go camping with a group of buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I hated it.
Oh, I'm not a big camper either.
No?
No, I don't.
So it's different?
Yes. When I say I go hunting, we would go hunting on the land that we had, so I would be home by dinner time. I wake up in the morning and I take our 4-wheeler out to the tree stand and I sit there I try to get there about daylight or a little bit before daylight so I can climb up in and not be moving by the time the sun rises, and then I'll sit out there till noon or till 1, and if I don't see nothing, I can just
Wait, how old were you?
My dad first started taking me hunting when I was around 6 or 7.
And then how old were you when you started going by yourself?
12 or 13.
Dude, that was your childhood?
Yeah.
That is so
I would come home from
insane.
school and take my school clothes off, put my hunting clothes on, and be in the woods in time for sunset.
So
Yeah.
not even kids in Los Baños. I don't think kids in Los Baños did that.
It's different here.
Yeah, you have to go travel to
Exactly.
go hunt, right?
Exactly. And that's why I haven't done any hunting here. I brought my bow, but I don't want to have to go travel and pay all the fees.
You have a bow?
Yeah, I do.
Fuck, dude.
I do, man. I need to get it restrung because I haven't shot it since I moved here. But yeah,
That's so crazy.
I know. I see Diego on Instagram always posting his stuff with his bow. And I'm like,
Adapt
man.
the Sessions, Diego?
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I need to go try that.
You should hit him up. You should
I
go
think
with
we
him.
talked about it last time he was here, but he's a busy guy, and I'm a busy guy, so I don't know.
Yeah, we're all busy.
We're all busy guys.
You know what's crazy? We're all busy during a pandemic.
I know. You know, when they're saying stay at home, I'm like, I done left the house 5 times today.
It's crazy. I don't know. That's just the crazy thing. It's like I was thinking about it the other day when I was running. I was like, a lot of people are sad and dealing with stuff, and I'm like, just get yourself in a routine. Like it's crazy because you're always me and you have. I'm not the same kind of person you are with, meaning I don't hunt, I don't do all that kind of stuff, but your mind's constantly going. Like you had 45 minutes to spare. You didn't just go home and lay down. You went to go fish.
Yeah.
Not that many people do that.
I'm always on the move. I'm always doing something. I am ADHD, so that plays a part of it. I can't sit there and do one thing for too long. Or the things that I don't like to do.
Are you diagnosed?
Yes.
Yes,
I am. Yeah.
Do you think I'm ADHD?
Yes, I do. But I am no doctor. I was diagnosed later on in my teenage years, but our family doctor said he's known since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But he was just waiting for it to present enough problems before he mentioned anything.
Yeah.
And so the things that I don't like to do, I don't like to do them. And I will avoid doing them. But things that I do like to do, I'll make time to go do that.
Oh, dude, that's me.
You know? Things that I do like to do, I'm like, I got 45 minutes. I can go wet a line real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of it. I'm still learning. I don't want to say I've learned. I'm still learning to control all that and make myself do the things that I don't want to do and use the things that I do want to do as sort of like incentive to do those things. But self-discipline's hard.
Yeah.
You know?
I seen where you work because you work at the physical therapist doctor's office, you would call it, right?
A clinic.
A clinic. And it is like a jungle gym.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you work there because it's not a normal work environment.
No, and it's there's always something different. We're always moving from one thing to the next. We're never in one station too long. So, yeah, now that you've seen it and you know me, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because when I used to work for FedEx, I was miserable. And
Yeah.
I see other people around me and they got it locked down. They're able to do this routine of this mundane work over and over. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, absolutely not.
Support your family, do what you need to do. But it wasn't clicking for me.
Sure.
I was just like, I was doing it and I was like, this is killing me. I couldn't explain.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trapped. There's plenty of days where I just call my wife. I was like, I can't do this. And there was nothing wrong with it. Was just
You're
my mind. Yeah.
Mentally, you're done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually how I got out here. When I was living in Little Rock, I had been doing physical therapy for about a year, doing home health physical therapy. And in that year, I felt like I had all the same patients that I was going to see 3 times a week, driving to their house, driving to the next patient's house, then driving home. Similar to like what you were doing, driving here, driving there, same thing every week. And the same thought went through my head, like, this isn't that bad. I'm making money, but this sucks. Like, I'm not happy here at all.
Yeah.
And so then I started looking into like traveling physical therapy. They're similar to traveling nursing. They do 3-month contracts, and they have them all over the United States. You can go wherever you want to go. And so I was looking at those because I'm like, that seems more my speed. A little bit here, a little bit there. Figure out where I want to stay for a while and then do that. And so then while I was looking for those jobs, I stumbled on the one here in Los Banos. And I was like, man, I don't want to go live in the bathroom. Like, how do I tell my parents I'm moving to the bathrooms of California?
Yeah.
And so after I got over the name, I got to looking at it on the map and seeing what the town, like, it doesn't have a huge social media presence or online advertising. You look up Los Banos, you're not going to find a whole lot about, like, we're right in the middle of everything, this and that. You got to kind of look at it on the map. Once I saw that, I was like, and they were looking for somebody, rather than 3 months, they were looking for somebody to sign a longer-term contract, but they said, travelers welcome, and they provide housing. And so once I saw that, I decided rather than hopping up and down the coast for 3 months at a time, going and doing all those places I want to go, I would rather have steady housing in the center of California, getting back to that once again, and just be able to go wherever I want to go from there.
Were there a lot of people looking to get that job?
No, because, well, I don't want to say no because I don't necessarily know, but they had been advertising for over a year because when I was going through PTA school, there was a what are they called? Corkboard with a bulletin on it, and it had all the states and then what towns in that state had current job listings for PTAs. And I remember looking at California, because I had known for a long time I want to get out of Arkansas. If not permanently, at least temporarily. There's so much to see. I want to go see. I would like to see all 50 states. But, and so while I was looking at that, I saw Los Banos, California. I'm like, there's a freaking town in California called The Bathrooms. I just had a little chuckle about it and moved on. And then it wasn't until years later when I saw that, and I was like, huh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, might as well give it a shot. So I applied, talked to the owners. We're very like-minded in our approach to physical therapy, and not just like that, but just how people should be treated in general. And so I've been working there for about 3 years now.
Did you take a trip out here before you made the move?
No. So
Jesus.
they had offered to fly me out to take a look at the clinic, meet everybody in person, make sure that we're going to mesh well. Or they said they could just give me the money that they would spend on that as a bonus. And I was like, sign me up for that. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. So I packed up all my stuff and my cat and drove out here.
Was it the name California for you that did it? Was that part of it?
Yes and no. Originally, I wanted to go to Colorado because I had been to Colorado before, and I knew wherever I wanted to go, I wanted to go somewhere where I could try snowboarding because that's been like a lifelong dream of mine. Yeah. Since I was a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing, and I wanted to go do it. And we never had the money or the time to go growing up. And so once I finally got the chance and I saw the mountains in Colorado for the first time, kind of reignited that desire. And so originally I was looking for jobs in Colorado. And then one day, because I didn't know that there was snowboarding in California. I don't know much about California before I moved here. Yeah. Other than what you hear on the news, and it's usually
San Francisco.
It's usually not good stuff that you're hearing on the news either. It's usually like wildfires or mudslides, stuff like that. And so yeah, once I kind of figured out that there was snowboarding in Colorado, I was like, I could also go snowboarding in California. I was like, I could also go surfing in California because I've always wanted to try that.
Have you done? I know you've done snowboarding, but
I've tried surfing. It's hella hard, man. I don't like it. And then too, once I'm in the water, I kind of just get an overwhelming fear of like what's beneath me, and it just messes with me so much that I can't enjoy it out there.
Yeah, I hate the ocean.
I don't like sharks, man. I know that they're
not even sharks, jellyfish,
sharks.
Whatever else is.
There's big fish in there too. Like there's fish big enough in there to eat me that aren't even sharks. So I'm good.
I'm probably even wrong on this one, but I've seen 1,000 Ways to Die, and some guy pissed in the lake. It wasn't even an ocean, but for some reason, when I'm in water, he pissed in the lake, and then the parasite went up his penis.
Oh, I think I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, I was like, fuck that. I ain't taking a piss in the ocean ever again.
No. But I've had that fear since I was a kid. We don't have oceans, but we have lakes and rivers in Arkansas that are muddy, and you can't really see the bottom of them. And I'll get into where, like, I'm up to my chest, but if it's anything deeper than that, like, my mind immediately goes to, there's a giant catfish down there, so you better not go too far down.
Oy. And what about leeches?
The only time I've ever had any experience with leeches is we had a pond on the land growing up, and it was a little bit smaller than an acre of a pond. It was a pretty big pond, and it had a bunch of lily pads and a bunch of leeches in it, and so we didn't get in there.
Yeah. We
had a boat that we would try to fish out of there, even though we weren't sure if there was nothing in there. We went probably 6 or 7 times not catching nothing before we finally said we're not fishing in that pond anymore.
What is a leech? Is it a slug?
Like a vampire slug? I honestly don't know.
It's crazy to think of like some animals that are just out there, like a leech. It just hangs out in the swampy area. Swampy, right?
Yeah, it was real marshy.
Yeah, and they just attach to something and suck the blood out of it.
Right. Have you seen the people that use the leeches medicinally?
Like, yeah, they say that takes out the toxins.
Yeah, I'm good, but you know, if it works for somebody, it works for them. But I don't want to try it.
Nashi has her own podcast. She's part of the fight team, but she called Happy Dagger Podcast. But we were talking about how they used to do they used to stick the needle in the eye for people that they thought were crazy. I forgot what it's called. God damn it, forgot what it's called. This is where I need somebody to look it up. But because somebody had mental health problems, like being bipolar or something, schizophrenic or something, they would stick a big rod in the eye hole right here,
like the lateral duct.
I don't know is that what it's called?
Like the tear duct?
Yeah. Right there. And they would shove it down there.
Oh, God.
Take out some stuff out of your brain where I guess your emotions are and just take it out.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
Why'd you think they're shoving the rod down the eye? You didn't know that they used to do that?
No, I didn't know that they used to do that. No, I know they were extremely barbaric in their treatment of mental health back in the day, but I'm not surprised that they did that. But I had just never heard that specifically. That's insane.
They did it to JFK's wife.
What?
I mean, not wife, sister.
Really?
Yeah. So he has a sister that was bipolar.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what to do back then, so they don't talk about her that much, and they did it to his sister, and she was all jacked up. She could barely walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me look it up real quick what it's called. But yeah, he a lobotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lobotomy. And they used to do that for years. And it went too quick. So the doctor found out like a way. He thought like, okay, that's where your emotions are.
Yeah.
If I take it out, then like he thought of a like idea like, okay, if we take it out, then they should be good.
Yeah.
So people were just like jumping on the bandwagon. It was like fake news, right? So like fake news, like it just for some reason it went viral. Like back then with no social media, and every doctor was practicing it, and they didn't really know the effects till after.
Wow.
It's such a fucking crazy thing that they used to do that to people. It's so crazy. Like, oh, dude, I don't know.
I can't even imagine. Like, just the thought of that is getting me squeamish, you know?
Like, when you think of pain, right? Because you're pain management. That's what you do, right?
Yep.
And do you see Oxycontins, like, being taken out of like regular use? Because they hand them out like candy still, right?
So they are cracking down.
Try to have it in front of you. Yeah, you're okay.
They are cracking down on how they are prescribing them. They are making people go to see a pain management specialist now so that they can ensure that they are not being abused. And I think that they have their place. There are some people that are in excruciating pain. And pain is subjective, too. Whatever pain I'm... Like, let's say I'm having... With this foot right now, let's say it's a 5 out of 10, it may be a 2 out of 10 to you, you know? Yeah. And so it's very hard first to regulate that because it is a subjective experience. Only they know exactly how much pain they're going through. And because of that, though, you will still have people continue to kind of abuse the system and go that way. But there are a lot of other forms of pain management being explored now. It's not just an immediate, oh, here's a prescription for your opiate. Hope you don't get addicted anymore. It's so a lot of people we're seeing a lot of referrals to physical therapy. A lot of people are getting onto like CBD and stuff like that. And people are at least more aware now of the potential repercussions, I don't even know if that's the right word, of the consistent or the constant repercussions, of the consistent opioid use.
Yeah. And it's crazy to me, like, I'm not a professional athlete, but I'm just going through this journey of trying to be an athlete. And you learn your body, right?
Yes.
And you realize that you need this muscle. Like, I start looking at myself like I'm not the greatest athlete in the world.
You're a pretty good athlete, man. Like, you always say that, but I'm like, this dude's an athlete. He doesn't realize it. So once he realizes it, he's really going to be dangerous.
But I start looking at other people my age.
Yeah.
And their body's starting to like they don't do muscle endurance, they don't do muscle like strength work, nothing. So their back starts hunching forward. Their arms are like really small compared to their bellies, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or their legs are real small compared to their bellies. I don't understand that, by the way.
But over time, because you said it's your machine, or
our bodies really is a machine. We're a series of pulleys and levers with our muscles and our bones.
Yeah, and you're slowly, it's falling apart if you're not taking care of it. Because our bone, like, that's one thing. I'm all over the place right now, but that's one thing I thought is crazy, is bones. They have these. They're like someone carved them perfectly to fit us, right? And it's an insane thing to think about, that everything fits in the right place, but it's up to you to take care of it.
Yes.
And I start seeing people that haven't really worked out for years, and they're complaining about shoulder pain. And I hear cracking in my shoulder all the time. But you said it was because it's an impingement, right?
It's a little bit impinged, and so the tendons are kind of compressed in there. So whenever you're moving it around, you will feel a little bit of clicking.
And I've had shoulder problems, but when I was at my heaviest and I wasn't working out, that's when the pain was bad. Mm-hmm. But when I started doing muscle work and and strength conditioning and stuff, whatever you call it, the pain started going away. And is it because I'm asking you, is it because my arm's getting stronger to carry the injury, or?
So it is. Part of it is probably gaining strength, but your career before, you were constantly hands up on the wheel, correct? Yeah. And so we see that a lot with people who are driving for a majority of their day, that they get that shoulder pain, because that is placed into that impinged position for a prolonged time. And whether we realize it or not, we're constantly activating those muscles. And so once they're constantly activated, they're going to be stronger than the ones that are doing the reverse and trying to pull the shoulder back into that unimpinged position. So it's just the activities of daily life, we call it. Your things that we take for granted until they're painful events: sweeping, doing the dishes, reaching up and placing something in the cupboard. Real simple stuff that we do every day.
The stuff that I don't do at all.
So
no wonder why I'm such in great shape.
Yeah, it's because you're not working enough around here.
Yeah.
No, it's and so what you did when you started working it out is you started strengthening those posterior delts. You started strengthening your rotator cuff, not necessarily by full intention, but when you were working out, that's what you were doing, and it started to unimpinge that shoulder a little bit.
So it's not necessarily getting stronger. It's just doing the reverse of what you're doing all the time, right?
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
So none of our activities in our life are behind us. And so we don't get a lot of natural rear delt strengthening. And we don't get a lot of rotator cuff strengthening because we don't have many activities that are up above our head and back like that. Yeah. But we do a lot of things in front of us. And so there's a balance that these muscles have to have. If you don't work out at all and you don't do anything at all, then you may not have that shoulder impingement pain because you're not doing anything. You're just going to be extremely weak. But if you're consistently doing something, whether it's sweeping or stacking boxes, driving where your arms are out in front of you like that, then you're putting a stress on those muscles, and those muscles are going to respond to that stress by gaining strength.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. The term use it or lose it, we hear a lot, but it really does apply. If you're not using a muscle, it's going to go away.
And people, so business, finances, and health, and that right there, like those, like things like that is what needs to be taught to people. Yeah. Because you see the after effects of all of that when people start getting older in their 40s. Yeah. And they're jacked up, man.
Yeah, shoulders are torn, having to have rotator cuff surgeries. A lot of that could be prevented with and you don't even have to go out in the gym and do some hella hard workout or nothing like that. Just simple twice a week, activating your rotator cuff just to make sure that you're using it, and that would help and pull your shoulder blades back. That'll really save your posture and prevent that rotator cuff from being torn away at every day.
And I think when you first got to the gym, the number one thing that you made me realize is that, I mean, everything that we talked about right now, but just seeing it in people's bodies. So there's a guy that I train, Jose, who is overweight, and because he was overweight, he wasn't really moving that much, or his quads weren't as strong. So his knee literally moves in, moves the opposite way where a knee's supposed to.
Hyperextension.
Yeah. And it's because he didn't have any quads, right?
He didn't have enough quad strength to support his full body weight in a standing position. And so he would compensate with that by hyperextending the knee.
It freaks me out, man.
Yes.
I don't know how people do that.
Me either. Yeah. But he's doing good, man. I saw his weigh-in today, 289.
Yeah, he's gotten way better, man. Yeah. He's able to, when he first, because of the hyperextension, he wasn't able to be in his fighting stance. Yeah. And now he's able to do feet work in the fighting stance. Good. Move in the fighting stance. And it's kind of cool to see. I think I understand why you love what you do. Yeah. Because I'm doing it with Jose, because he's literally going from way out of shape to like finding his athleticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see his body start to change.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's able to do a push-up now.
And it's rewarding, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's something that's just hard to explain when you see somebody progressing and they're grateful that you were a part of that journey with them, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
It's a lot of fun. I enjoy my job a lot.
But we kind of like talked about everything today, and I hope people like this, like because I've been wanting to talk to Jaden for a while, and it was kind of cool to hear that your childhood, right?
Yeah,
that was kind of nuts to hear.
It was wild. It's like something you'd see in a country movie, but it was fun and it taught me hard work. And I couldn't have imagined growing up any other way. I'm sure you couldn't imagine growing up on a farm like that.
Yeah,
you know?
there's no
So
way.
I wouldn't know what to do in the city. I wouldn't know what bus to take. Like, I didn't have any friends that I could just ride my bike down to their house or nothing like that. So it's different, man. Not to say any one is better than the other, but it's crazy to see how people have different walks of life, and that's really what makes them into who they are too.
You know, it's a gym really brings people together.
Yes.
Like a martial arts gym, strike fitness. No, but a martial arts gym really brings people together that come from different walks of life.
All over the place.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. And thank you for doing this.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
We didn't even get to talk about religion, and that was something I wanted to talk about soon, but another time.
Another time.
And how do people follow you on Instagram or anything you want to plug?
I'm on Instagram at PresidentJRK. And that's about it. I don't really tweet a whole lot, so there ain't no point in following me there.
Go ahead and subscribe, guys. Follow Jaden. Follow The Hassle of Hair on Instagram. We're back. And our sponsor, Diego, I'll have all his info there. I'll have a commercial set up, but he is our sponsor. It's the first time I'm promoting them. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Jaden. I love you guys. Thank you. If you're listening again, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. We got so much more content coming out. Love you guys. Peace.